All right, everybody. Hello, hello. Ready to talk a little bit of T-Wolves. It's good to be here with my two good friends, Mr. Tony Carlos Warren and Kevin Stanky. How are you guys tonight?
Doing well. Thank you, Garrett. Thanks for being
Very
here.
good.
Superb.
Well, I think it's safe to say we could all be doing better if we had a few more wins under our belt.
One or two, or a lot
One
more?
or two. Could have gone for three, starting with the Lakers win. But if there's one thing I can say about the last few losses that we've had, is that at least we've been in games and not completely blown out. They've shown some good heart, some growth, some energy, but they haven't shown a win yet.
I'm thinking at this point, though, do you want that many wins?
No.
I would agree. I think at this point, knowing what it is and knowing what's at stake, if they're a little like just one or two more wins out of these blown, multiple blown fourth quarter losses, and the offseason looks a lot more boring when you don't have a top 3 draft pick or any draft pick that is in the first round. So maybe the tank is on. Not that I'm thrilled about it, because it's not fun to watch your team lose, especially if you're always losing as a Wolves fan. We had one fun season in the last, 15, 20 years. But at this point, just keep the L's coming, I guess. I hate to say it.
They've been coming, haven't they?
They've been coming.
I will say that the Wolves have had some tough losses. The Pacer game they just played, in particular, was a great game to watch. Probably the best game of the season to watch. Kevin, I know you caught the end of that game. What was it that you enjoyed leading up to the overtime where it kind of all fell apart?
Well, it was just a tough bounce away from being a win. We saw the last shot go up by Anthony Edwards, and he missed it, and couldn't have been any closer, though, if only he had made it. And that was that was kind of the inevitable that we were about to see in the overtime. It felt like, okay, they were ahead most of the game, and now they're going to get a little tired and lose. So
I feel like
it was good to see 4 good quarters from them, though. If they could have only just wrapped it up there at the very end, the fourth quarter.
You thought he got robbed maybe of his, the defining moment of this first half of the season. You thought, man, that was going to be it. That was his moment. He had that big smile on his face after he missed that shot. I was happy because I thought Flip drew it up I thought Ryan drew it up that way, but not the case. I don't think that was actually the scripted plan. But nonetheless, I was like, wow, they trusted Edwards with the last shot. That really tells you that they have a lot of faith in the schedule, which they should. But no, the defining moment of the season was not lost, as we saw yesterday. Anyone who, not even being a big Wolves fan, just a moderate NBA fan and a Twitter engager on Twitter, their feed would have been blown up with the dunk of the year, of this, not just for the Wolves, but for the season. So he had his moment yesterday. I'm no longer crying for that rim out in the Pacers game.
Let's talk about that dunk of the year. I mean, it was pretty exciting. If you can't get a W, is a dunk of the year a secondary prize?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you don't want, now at this point, I'm sorry, but I'm thinking future of this franchise, and I don't want too many wins. I want good, fun games. And that made it a fun and exciting game, right? And gives you some hope about what the future brings, especially with him on the roster. And he looked shaky, he promising early on, some horrible stats throughout the middle of the season, but this last string of games, you got to have some confidence that the future is brighter. I don't want to be too confident yet. It's early, of course, but Looks good. Looks really good. I was really fearful at first when they drafted him, the Wiggins comparisons. There was a lot of them, just because of how much does he love to play basketball? Is he going to be another guy that has all the tools but just doesn't really have it? And you can see it right away that he is nothing like Wiggins. I mean, the aggressiveness in this kid is great to see. Wiggins just did not have that bite that Edwards does. So I'm excited to see it.
They both got that vertical though, and they both get high. They bring it down. A little more muscle on him though, and still got more to grow too, I think. So I think that doing this in his rookie year, I think that's all going to be positive for him if he can be put in these positions where he's the man.
See how high that
become the man.
Rim. I mean, he had, it was like his armpit was at the rim. He got so high. It was incredible. Was it the Pacers game where he got denied at the rim? It was against Miles Turner. He went up and tried to do the same thing to Miles Turner. And I think that little bit of contact made him, it was like the old Sprite commercial where he got rejected by the rim, but that was just about a centimeter away from being another beautiful poster against the Pacers. So he's got it. I mean, he's aggressive, and that's what you want to see. And he's confident. Like that shot to go that did not win the game against the Pacers. That tells you all you need to know is that he's confident. He wants that shot. Again, I like what I'm seeing. It'll come. He's 19.
Yep. And it's encouraging that they're giving him the last shot of a close game like that. They're letting him know they have confidence in him to continue his confidence. And he certainly has the personality to not get down on himself. Like he said in the press conference after last night's game, the dunk was great, but they still lost. And so what does the dunk matter? And that's great to hear. That's maturity. He's only 19 and he's saying and doing things that a veteran in the league would be doing. So that he definitely is I think from what I see, he's leaps and bounds ahead of where Andrew Wiggins was in maturity in his rookie year. Talent-wise, they're equal, maybe, but maturity-wise, I think Anthony Edwards is a little bit of a different player than Wiggins was, personality-wise and drive.
He's an alpha, right? And It's not that Wiggins wasn't. It's not that he wasn't an alpha. He wasn't even a beta. He was just so passive, and I couldn't watch another pull-up jumper from 20 feet, 17 feet again. Even I saw an article today, that this trade, the D'Angelo for Wiggins trade, is it really close to becoming a bust? Because Wiggins is having a pretty decent season in Golden State. He's averaging like around 15, maybe 17 points a game, but defensive-wise, something that you never saw in Minnesota. He's one of the leading top five, I believe, in blocks in the league. But it's a system. He's got a lot better players around him, and it's a much better system for him because he doesn't have to be an alpha. Where here, he had to at least be, Bat or Robin to Cat's Batman role, I'll say. But
do you think there's something to the difference in head coach too, having a Steve Kerr instead of Ryan Saunders or Tom Thibodeau or
someone that's going to tear you apart if you don't? Yeah, absolutely. But it's Russell. I mean, Towns and Russell have only had 5 games together, so we don't have yet to see what that duo can actually bring if they're able to put 82 games. Let's knock on wood that next season we get 82 games. We'll see.
I was just gonna say it. It looks like Kevin froze up there.
I'm hearing you now.
Oh.
I missed what you guys were talking about though.
we were just talking about Wiggins and Anthony Edwards, and I would rather have Anthony Edwards.
Well, really the choice is between D'Angelo Russell though and Andrew Wiggins. We're going to get Anthony Edwards anywhere.
I'll still take Russell because And we knew what Wiggins was, and so I cannot watch another one of those games where it's so often has a lane to the hole, pulls up for a 10-foot jumper, 11-foot jumper, maybe makes it, 37% of the time, but so often, oh man, I couldn't do that.
But it's hard to tell if you're talking about Wiggins or Russell when you just leave their names out of it.
True, very true.
Well, that's a good segue into discussing, the Russell injury. He's going to be out for possibly 4 weeks or longer, right?
4 to 6, I believe.
So from what I've seen since he's been out, the last few games, the younger players have really stepped up. Who do you think, I'll start with Kevin, who do you think is going to fill Russell's shoes on this team? Obviously Beasley's going to, but who steps up?
Well, I mean, Jalen Noel over the past couple of games has really stepped it up. Jordan McLaughlin on occasion can bring that spark.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess really it's the time if Ricky wants to show that he's got what it takes to continue to be a starter in this league. This is his chance to showcase that. But I think it's going to be Noel and McLaughlin who are really pushing for the future of this team. Because I think it's going to be tough for Ricky Rubio to make that case unless he's pulling out some W's here.
The good news about Ricky is that I believe this is the last year of a $17 million contract or hold that he's got. I don't think the answer is on the roster right now. I don't think it's Russell per se, but he's got a pretty hefty contract. If you're talking about filling up from a backcourt perspective, yes, it's got to be one of the two Kevin mentioned plus Beasley. But I don't know how many more shots you want to see out of Beasley. That's he can be a bit of a chucker, right?
Yeah, but he's making them.
Yeah, at times he's streaky. He's just a very streaky shooter. But no, I mean that's a great steal that the Wolves got. So happy to see that Beasley's on this roster and that they gave him that extension during the offseason. But I think the answer is hopefully a top 3 pick that brings a point guard. Russell's going to be the 2, but we'll see.
I would say I like what I've seen from Jordan McLaughlin in the last 2 games, particularly last night's game. He is a scoring point guard, and he did a good job doing his best Ricky Rubio Olay impression, layup wise. And I didn't get to catch much of Jalen Noel, but from what I've seen, he can shoot the ball. He has a good shot, a good stroke. So like you said, Kevin, I think it's those two that kind of play it from the 1 or the 2 spot. The player I think they need to get more involved to pick up that scoring punch that we're going to miss with Russell out is Naz Reid. I said it at the beginning of the year. He's exciting to watch, and he's been proving with Cat out, and now that Cat's been back, he still can score the ball and be a dominant presence in the paint, which they need because they don't have anybody else other than Cat.
I like that. I've noticed they put him in end of quarter situations almost all the time because he's so clutch. They know that he can. If they get him the ball and he's open, he's going to make it. So that's been good to see from Naz Reid. Even though he's not getting as many minutes, he's still getting those very important minutes.
What I like is that he adds depth, right?
Right.
Because you can have a scorer coming off the bench, or I would love to see the idea of having McDaniels as that 4 to Cat's 5, right? That combination. And then what I do like about this team, what it is promising is that you kind of got a nice core of those supplemental players that if you can get one more piece, perhaps you've got a fairly deep team that can then compete. Because you can't have, for example, if it's not McLaughlin that's starting, or it's the answer in the backcourt, it's a great guy to have on your bench to give you extra minutes when, example, when Beasley's out or when Russell's out injured. So it's just, I like that this team's putting together some depth. Culver's been out for how long now? I don't, he looked good in preseason. He looked good early on, but I think might be same old Culver. And Okogie, I'm sorry, but Okogie is trash. Okogie's one of the worst players in the league.
He looked awful last night.
Oh, he looked awful for a while. That he's regressing something fierce. So there's some. I don't want to get too ahead because we're in a season. We should appreciate what we have now. Like, we have basketball to watch. We have Wolves basketball to watch now. But I can't help but to think, okay, what will this team or what can this team be, given that it's only a 7-win team with its current construct?
It can't be both Culver and Okogie. I'm guessing next year we're going to lose one of them.
Yeah.
And we probably won't be too upset about it.
And neither of them have that much value, I think, at this point, which is Culver was what, pick number 6 or 7?
6 or so. We'll maybe get some salvage out of that on the trade market. I don't know if Okogie would get you too much more.
But you can't put the ball in his hands on offense.
He'd be good on a team like the Lakers, where you could just a specialist that you bring him in the defensive plays.
Yeah, he's a defensive specialist for sure, and he's not doing anything really else to help the team offensively because he's afraid to shoot it. He has no confidence in his shot from behind the three-point line. When he drives to the basket, Okogie always seems like he's super out of control. He has a little bit of the Corey Brewer fly to the hoop and no body control look to him.
If Brewer had a 50-point game, Okogie, I can guarantee you, I would bet this house, Okogie's never going to have a 50-point game. He's not going to have a 40-point game. He's not going to have a 30-point game.
He gets 50 this season.
Who he gets it this season?
Let's hope he gets 50 points all season long.
All season. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say maybe he gets 50 if they have to play shorthanded or something.
So they did extend. Okogie's on a team through 21-22, but at least it'll be an expiring contract, so maybe they can ditch it if need be.
I could see. So it's funny, and I didn't really think about talking about this, but I was listening to the K-Fan today, and Trent Tucker said some bullshit about trading Karl Anthony Towns if they're really going to tank. And I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing in the world. But to that point, they should think about trading either Okogie or Culver right this year to get something of value. So who do you guys think? And I'll start with you, Carlos. Who do you think they should trade? And what would you like to see them get back in return?
Well, unfortunately, those guys are going to be Okogie's going to be a player that someone's going to take for an expiring contract. And it's not even a big number. It's like $4 million, right? So they just don't have value. I don't see this as a team that's going to be buying at the trade deadline, nor really are they going to be selling. I think this is a team that's going to be staying put and looking to see what they can do in the offseason. But they're pretty handcuffed when it comes to options for adding another big name. And maybe you should talk about trading Cat. Maybe Tucker's got a point. I'm sorry to say it. I'm not saying that. I just think.
I'll summarize what he was saying and why real quick before you make your point. He really thought that we should trade Cat because he doesn't fit the system, which I also thought was kind of a ridiculous conversation or comment because the Wolves want to shoot the three. He's a center that shoots the three better than any other center in the league. How does he not fit the system? So I just don't get trading him. And what would you even get back in return other than a higher pick or a package of them?
Yeah, you could turn Cat for a lot. You could get a lot in return for him because he's signed for through 24 through 23-24 season, so he does have a lot of value. But when it comes to systems, like first of all, Brian Saunders is not the coach of the Timberwolves next. Well, I don't want to say guaranteed, but he should not be the coach of the Timberwolves. I think some of these losses in the fourth quarter, you got to look at him at some point and say who's accountable here, and he's got to take a big chunk of it. I really wanted him to succeed. I really change. They're going to have a new player, a new coach in. And apologies if I'm cutting out a little bit, but we're going to have a new player or new coach in, a new system in. And I don't want to give up on Towns because he is a guy that you can build around. But I don't think when we're talking about like alphas, I don't know if Town is your number one player on a championship team. He's gotten a lot better this season, though. He's played, when we do see him play, you see a lot of improvement in the defensive numbers specifically. And that's where he was like weak. He looks fantastic. So I would not want to get rid of him. But is he going to want, like, that's a question. Like, when is he going to ask out? And losing takes a toll. So when is he going to ask out? And the players seem to have their way right now. When they say I want out, they're getting it. So that's kind of what I'm scared about. And maybe it's like I want to break up with you first before you break up with us. And maybe that's why I feel this way.
But it's still too soon. It's the first year of his 20+ million contract. You know, he's got at least 2 more years to see this out before he can really start to make a fuss. So, you know,
Davis
of course,
had 2 years left, I think. I think he had 2 years left. Davis did when he got.
Yeah. They went through 2 years of him saying he wanted to be traded, or a year and a half maybe, after he signed his rookie extension. I mean, to trade Carl with 3-4 years left on his contract is.
No, it's foolish. It is. You're not going to get $1 or even 90 cents on the dollar for that. Not even close. So certainly nothing I want to see happen. It's a fun discussion to have, and what you would get out of return. That's a great. You're going to get picks, to your point. I don't think you're going to get another player nearly in that quality or as Towns in return. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much movement from this team. I mean, Ricky Rubio is probably the biggest name out there just because he has a contract that you can actually get something back from.
Yeah.
Because a guy who's on an expiring contract like Aaron Gordon or John Collins, who you can just take a little taster platter on what they're got to offer the team. That might be something worth thinking about. Otherwise, I can only imagine the only trades that are going to be happening are teams with owners like Houston Rockets, who are probably just going to be looking to shed as much salary as they can, finding ways to exploit those holes. Might be something worthwhile. When you guys got guys like Jake Layman or Jarrett Culver, they could maybe do what they have to do to keep the Houston Rockets alive. But I don't know if they can get anything worthwhile from those 2 guys, even if it's just a swap of contracts and a second rounder. I think with how deep they are at those shooting guard and wing positions, that's the biggest redundancy on our roster right now is those 2 guys. Is they couldn't be more similar, and also which one of them is going to work out.
That's a great point. I like that. Flipping it to your point, same players, Gordon, Fournier in Orlando as well, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, that is an attractive contract for someone to. It's still got another year, I believe, left after this year. But we could maybe see that happening. I can see maybe a team saying maybe he'll be a good backup in this system, and because he only has 1 year left, what's there to lose? I'm not even sure when the trade deadline is. I think it's in March, late March this season.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it is either. I don't even know if the NBA has said it. I mean,
There definitely is one. Yeah, it's March 25th,
Okay.
so a little more than a month away.
We don't even know what the
Guys-
second half of the schedule looks like yet.
We've already seen some guys who are moving off of or being asked by their team to not play. Either we don't know who's making that fuss, but Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, DeMarcus
Yeah.
Cousins tonight, all players that are either going to get bought out or traded probably soon. I don't really think the Timberwolves should be a part of anything happening there, but maybe part of a three-way possible.
I think the
Sounds like a
T-Wolves
party.
have enough value in veteran players to be part of a three-way trade. I don't think they have anybody that they could just trade outright for somebody else to try and or get a pick or whatever. But
No.
trading somebody like Culver, Ed Davis, Wancho, even though he's been sucking and not playing,
There's no
Layman,
value.
these are
No value.
veterans that could add a veteran presence to a playoff team, maybe. You know,
If they decided maybe if they could just get off D'Angelo Russell's contract for Blake Griffin,
see, but then you're going to upset Cat, and you
Yeah.
don't want to upset Cat. You showed Cat. I think they've shown Carl that they are committed to him, and they want him to know went out and got D'Angelo Russell for him to stay here. They gave him his extension. If they traded D'Angelo now after they've played how many games together? 10 or
not
Five,
even that.
12? 9?
No, I'm
I
not
mean-
saying that he would do that, but I'm saying if they're looking for something spicy, like that could be something. Only if they decided that wasn't going to work out, but
But you can get Blake Griffin on the cheap. You know, you don't.
Blake's not going to want to go. Blake's going to get bought out. He's at the point in his career where he wants a ring. So when I look at where Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond as well, like where they're going to go, Drummond could be a fit perhaps for the Lakers to back up Davis or just another presence there. Blake perhaps too. You know, you're going to have these guys that are going to be chasing rings at this point more than anything else. So that's where I'd look out. Like the Wolves are not going to be a player at the trade deadline. It's this team's going to be built through the draft and through mid-level free agents. You just got to get lucky with Edwards. You got to hope that Russell is healthy and him and Cat, once you get some time together, they actually mesh. And same with Beasley. Like I think you got a solid team there. Like I am optimistic about the future of this team if it's healthy and these players develop kind of the trajectory we're seeing. McDaniels is one of the steals of the draft. 29th pick overall, and he's been fantastic. So there's something there. There's certainly something there, and it's deeper than I remember. So we'll see. But
It's their inability to play together in a weird year to begin with. But Carl, D'Angelo, they both have been hurt for the last 2 years, haven't been able to play together. And then in a shortened year last year, and then a goofy COVID year this year, the chemistry hasn't developed. But I think there is hope, like you said, that they have talent. They're a talented roster. There's young talent on this team that just needs time to figure it out. And the biggest part to figuring that out might be a head coaching change at this point, because I haven't seen a development of players and scheme that really should happen.
That's a good question. Or I guess a wager. Does Ryan make it through the end of the season?
Yeah, I think he does.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, he'll probably make it. If he doesn't make it the end of the season, he'll get, the last 5 games. I mean, hopefully there's going to be a plan to start interviewing candidates as soon as possible. They can't do it now because you're not going to get the best candidate right now. You got to wait until the season ends. You can't just throw some guy in there. So
that's going to be a hit because I think the team likes him. The players like him. Cat Wright likes him. He's he's a great guy to have in terms of just like the personality, and you want him to succeed, but it's just not going to work. I could see them giving Pablo the head coaching job, giving him a try for a bit and see how he does.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Or Vanderpool. I mean, well,
Yeah.
I have to imagine they brought those guys on to have a backup plan, but I think that Glenn Taylor lets him play out the season. I don't think he wants to do that to fire Ryan in the middle of the year, especially when the season's already lost. So, yeah, I would be surprised if he's the head coach next year, but I don't think he gets fired midseason.
No, I would agree. I'm curious how involved Glenn is at this point with the effort he's making to sell the team and how that's coming along as well.
I have to imagine that there's the price tag to purchase an NBA franchise right now isn't very high, considering you don't have any fans in the building or proven revenue, or when's that going to get back and what will that look like? So
yeah,
well, the Utah Jazz just sold.
Did they?
I mean, they sold probably like 6 months ago to a guy who is from Utah. It was funny because about a year ago, we noticed that his name's Ryan Strauss. We noticed he was at the Timberwolves game, and he was
maybe he was eyeing him up to buy them.
Maybe, yeah. We were looking up where is he from. He's from Utah. They already have a team, so he's not going to move him there. And
making sure no one from Seattle is at games.
Well, and the thing was that his his advisor said, you want to buy the Jazz, you want a team in Utah, so you just got to wait until that team comes up for sale. So it was I don't know. I think we would have been pretty lucky. No, that was Ryan Smith, I think his name is, and yeah, too bad.
yeah,
Whoever buys them keeps them here. Maybe Bob Dylan will buy them.
Bob Dylan's got $8 billion sitting around, or $8 billion. I'm not sure what the price is at this point.
I don't think Garrison Keillor's going for it.
No. Can Ziggy buy another franchise?
I don't think he's going to want to buy another franchise.
We'll see then. I think Seattle gets an expansion slot as it is. So, and the Wolves are locked into a lease, I think, till 2030 something. Who knows? But those aren't ironclad as it is. I mean, yes, that building is a lot nicer than it was, but it's certainly still not a state-of-the-art arena, compared to some of the others in the league. Much better, much nicer, but it's not the gem of the NBA. So we'll see how that develops. At this point, I think there's a lot of people that might not even notice if they sell and move, because the team itself kind of seems to have been falling off the minds of a lot.
Yeah, well, and my theory too is that Glenn Taylor is in cahoots with Fox Sports North or whatever they are now.
Soon to be Valley Sports. Yeah.
It's like, so you're not, make it impossible to watch the games so that we can say the ratings are bad. Nobody's at the games.
Got to move them.
Got to move them. Yeah. Just goes to show you can't support the team, but guess what?
Yeah.
You're just making it impossible to support a team.
I tell you what, though, I would be, so I was a season ticket holder for 2 years prior to last year, and those were fun years, right? The first year I think was the playoff year where they got blown out by the Rockets. Second year was it was miserable, because that's when Tibbs was like, enough. He was just bringing the morale down in that building. You could feel it. I think it would be in to do it again next year, though, just because I am optimistic about the franchise or the future of this team. It's got some nice parts. I really hope that Edwards is going to blossom into year two player, is going to see exponential growth. So, and then hopefully a top 3 pick. If Golden State gets number 2 in this last year's draft and then a top or number 4, it would have to be number 4 in this year's draft. That would not be fun.
I agree. I think next year will be a fun year, and I think we should all go to a game together. I haven't been to one. I didn't get a chance to go last year. I spent the season watching from home before it stopped, but I would love to have season tickets next year and watch Anthony Edwards get to work, improve, and see the excitement he brings. But
it is not fun to go spend that much time in a building to watch a losing team. So it really should be a concern. So we'll see. The most fun I've had in a long time was at game 82, I believe, against the Nuggets. They had to win that game. I mean, this streak of lack of seasons without a playoff could possibly be much longer. I can't recall how many years it was when they finally made it. It was in the teens. But that was game 82 against the Nuggets, and I want to say that one went into overtime. And that was to get into the playoffs. And if it wasn't for that one game, it would be, the streak would continue. We'd be on year, 17, 16. So at least we got that one season, only to get blown out by the Rockets. Got to win in that playoff series too, though, which was nice. What kind of beer did you get, Kevin?
Hazy IPA.
Very nice.
Well, citrusy. Well,
cheers.
That looks like a super tasty beer, almost of some kind of a all-star level for an all-star person such as yourself. What do you guys think about the all-star game happening this year? It's March 7th, so it's coming up. And are you excited? Some of the players are pretty upset to be doing it. Doesn't matter.
I could go without. It'd still be fun to see who's named to the all-star team and then just not have to have the game, right? Why? It's not even so much the risk at this point versus, all right, the season's just a mess as it is. Give these players a week or 2 off to just kind of, settle back in with their families for a bit and relax versus having to go do this playoff game. And where are they playing it this year?
They're playing Hotlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hotlanta, Georgia. And yeah, I mean, it's good that they're naming the All-Stars to begin with. I feel like we're all going through this in a lot of ways. It's like you got to at least pretend to do your job. We got this All-Star game coming up. So, let's see if it happens, but we got to at least pretend like we think it's going to happen. It does seem a little ridiculous that they would be having it. It'd be a lot of fun. Last year's All-Star game was probably the best ever.
Competitive. That's right. With those new rules that they had, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I like the new twists they added to the All-Star game. What I'd like to see make it is the Wolves alumni, Zach LaVine. I'd love to see him make the All-Star game this year. I don't think it's going to happen, just given the Bulls are not a great team. But if you had to do it over again, I think you choose Wiggins to be part of that Butler trade as opposed to Zach.
I would have. I mean, I said it when that trade happened. I would much rather have kept Zach LaVine, and it's unfortunate, man, because he has turned out to be the real deal, right?
Score. He certainly can score. I mean,
yeah,
some empty numbers at times, but it's just fun. He's from everything you hear, he's just such a solid guy too, and his work ethic is incredible. So glad to see him having some success in Chicago.
And the cool thing about the All-Star game is that they're gonna do it all on one night too. It sounds like they're gonna do the skills challenge, 3-point contest, and the dunk contest happens at halftime or something like that.
Well, that'll be cool to see. I hope that happens. And I hope they have to use all-stars instead of just grabbing the scrubs. They got to limit as many people they bring in there. So the all-stars that decide to play the game, tough luck. You got to do a slam dunk contest too.
LeBron's
Line them up.
going to be in it. Yeah. There were so many years where it was like, is LeBron going to do the all-star? Is he? Because he even teased it. Is LeBron going to do the slam dunk contest? Yeah, no. So at 37, 36, whatever he's at now, maybe this is the year. If Kevin's if Kevin's proposal goes through, I like that.
Do you think they ask Anthony Edwards to do the dunk contest after his?
I think
year of
everybody
dunk
else
of
would
the year?
bow out though.
Yeah.
Right?
Just bring back Zach and Aaron Gordon for one-on-one. Just two guys. Just let them do it each year for, or at least this year. Make it
That
simple.
would be fun to see a rematch because that was a good one.
Consecutive years.
I would just endorse too if they just let Aaron Gordon do it, just all by himself.
Yeah.
I feel
Just
like he
give him
deserves
that one.
He deserves it, man, because he was just as good as Zach was. It's just that, I mean, we were all rooting for Zach Levine too to win that dunk contest. Let me ask you guys this as a question for the All-Star game, and then we'll quit talking about it. Who's the All-Star for the Wolves? If you could send a player from the Wolves, obviously I don't think there's going to be an All-Star reserve from the Wolves, but who would it be?
So to make it interesting, you have to eliminate Towns, right?
Well, I don't
played
think
enough.
you have to. You could vote for him, but is he deserving? He's
Beasley.
hardly played.
Beasley's been consistent. He's averaging around 20. I'd say the Wolves' most valuable player, though, yeah, Beasley, but not like Nas was mentioned earlier today. He's just been so solid and such a nice surprise that he's been perhaps outside of Beasley, their most valuable player. Just for all of
Beasley. I'm going with Beasley. I mean, he's the only one who can keep them in the games. Naz Reid does his. I mean, he's good, but in my opinion, it's got to be Malik Beasley because he's the one who shoots them into most of the games that they stay in, keeps them in the W column with the ones that they win, and there are some streaks he's gone on this year that made you think if he was on a winning team, he could be an all-star. So I'm going to go with him right now.
I would agree. I think Beasley is definitely the all-star of this team. He's been playing pretty darn good. He's definitely shown that he's deserving of the contract that they gave him the beginning of the year. He's not afraid to play hard, play with intensity. He still brings it every night. So I would definitely send him over Towns, even though, Carl is a much more talented player, MVP caliber, but not for the beginning of this year has he been. So yeah, Beasley's my vote. Although I would give a half a vote to Naz Reid as well because he's been a stud.
Just the Wolves, yeah. In terms of the Wolves' most valuable player, how about the most improved player on this roster? There's not much to choose from.
You can't really say because, I mean, none of them played a full season with us last year.
Yeah.
I think most improved player would have to be Nas as well. Possibly I'm blanking on his name. Why? Jared Vanderbilt has played pretty darn good, but I think Nas has definitely improved over last year far more.
Really hoping it was going to be Culver, but that's not happening.
Culver should be back next week from what I've read. It sounds like he's turned the corner.
It helped us. He just haven't looked great. Very early in the season, I got excited, but it was fool's gold. It was definitely fool's gold. Beasley's is at 40% 3-point shooting. It seems to be about his career clip though, 40%. But
If you can
it's nice
shoot
to have
40%. Ooh.
40%.
All
This
right.
team-
Well, taking one more look at the upcoming schedule, you guys. I mean, obviously, we want them to win some games. They play tomorrow against the New York Knickerbockers, 6 p.m. You think that's a win or a loss? Could that be the 8th win of the year?
I'm going with a loss for my prediction.
I'm going with the win. I think that they could take it against New York. They're missing Mitchell Robinson. And, you know, they don't have a lot of depth, kind of like the Timberwolves in that area in the post. They got Nerlens Noel. They got Julius Randle. These are just guys that we'll see what they got tomorrow.
Julius Randle
Randle
has been playing pretty darn good this year.
I think that's our most improved in the league.
Oh yeah.
I want to say he's up there in terms of most improved player league wide. He's gonna be a handful. Yeah. So
I will definitely. I want to believe that they can win, and the way they've played since the Laker game, they've shown me they can stay in games, which is super impressive. I think that the Knicks are a winnable team, a beatable team. They couldn't beat the Raptors. We couldn't beat Indiana. I think the Knicks are a win. I want to see them win, man. But after the Knicks game on Sunday, they go up against the Bucks. They've got the Bulls on Wednesday as a back-to-back. I think that's a couple losses, honestly, and it doesn't get any better. I mean, they've got Washington, which should be a win. They're awful.
they lost to him already once this year.
Exactly.
I think they gave him one of their first, not their first win, but one of them. Yeah.
And we finish out February against the Suns. So it's just the wins aren't going to come easy. And do we really want them to get more wins or
No,
tank?
yeah. I think I'd rather have that pick right now. The best chances of that pick. Although even if they get a win, it's going to happen, right? The top three, the worst three teams get the even chances, I think, for in the lottery. So they're going to finish there. Washington, Minnesota, Detroit. Yeah,
Detroit,
they're all going to be in that picture. We'll see what happens. But so
it would be Minnesota's luck to drop out of the top three in the picks and have to give it away. It sounds like something that could happen.
The luck changed last year. Got the number one pick.
How weird would it be to get back-to-back number one picks again? Because remember we had the Wiggins and then Carl, right? Is that the back-to-back year?
Yeah,
well, we traded Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Love for Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, who were both number one picks back to back.
Anthony Bennett was a stud.
Oh,
plus Cat, who was the number one. But
yeah, you had three number one picks on the roster at one point.
That's unheard of.
Bennett, who shocked everyone. That was just the worst number one pick, I think, in the history of the NBA. One of them. He was out of the league so quickly. He was D-League, and I don't know where he's at now. Well, one side note, just something that I'm very interested in is how the G League, the Ignite team, this development team is going to pan out. I think it's a great opportunity the league is providing those players where it just doesn't make sense to go into college. If you're a player and you want that experience, by all means, but if it's just not the best option for you, like players instead of going to Australia or one of these foreign leagues for a year and then coming back to the US, I think that the G League and this Ignite squad really gives them an opportunity to not just develop their skills for a season, but also like the other parts, like learning how they have finance classes, getting full-time trainers and nutrition for the whole season. The team now has like Jarrett Jack and I can't recall the other forward, Amir Johnson, I believe, is on the team as well. So you have like mentors, NBA veterans on the squad with them. So that's going to be something interesting to see how the league takes that. Chet Holmgren, homegrown, what he decides to do. But that kid's skinny. I mean, that kid's super skinny. So will he pick a year of college, or will he decide to go this Ignite route as well? I think you're going to see a lot more high school kids that'll perhaps go that route until they bring back directly into the NBA. I know people love college and it's the atmosphere and whatnot, but it just doesn't make sense to not give them that opportunity to go directly into the league if they choose to.
I agree. I think now there's no reason why players that come out of high school, if they have the talent and the skill and an NBA team wants to draft them, they should. It's proven. I mean, look at LeBron, look at KG. Players can come out of high school and be good in the NBA. It's just that they're the generational type players.
Yeah.
That's a reason. Other players that aren't need to be talked into playing in the developmental league, the G League, or going to college, and that's what you have coaches for, Or if they get drafted, if a team wants to draft them, by all means, get that paycheck.
They get paid, I think, about $500,000 for this season. If you're on the Ignite team, and they don't play, they're not in the standings. They're still playing the other G League teams, but it doesn't count towards any standing. It's just all about the experience. It's about learning how to be in the NBA, which I think is just as important. That's where you had a lot of failures, not just from, being able to adapt physically. It was just such a mental shift for these kids, the one and done kids, whoever it was. It's just a lot to take on. So to introduce them to that and have this program in place that helps guide them and teaches them these valuable lessons. And kids just coming out of high school in general, despite this Ignite, are just coming out a lot more mature, a lot more level. I think the risk that used to exist before, it's just a different culture now, with all these specialized high school programs as well that are I don't know, I'm not quite sure, but I like kind of the trend that I'm seeing. It's good for the league. It's good for basketball overall. To just cultivate it with as much talent as you possibly can. And sooner or later, every single NBA franchise is going to have its own G League team. There's only a few that exist now that don't have one. So it'll be good to see.
Well, great, guys. That's kind of all I got for this. Any final thoughts on the Timberwolves, what you want to see happen or what you're looking forward to?
I think we're going to see them go 5-1 in the next stretch here, really making you question if they should be going tank or not. But I don't know. Other than that Milwaukee game, I don't see those teams being all that much better than Timberwolves. And if they want to win those games, I think we'll see it happen.
I just like to see more consistency out of these young guys. I like to see Edwards continue to be aggressive and just be a little bit more efficient. You're going to have off days as a rookie. I'd like to see more McDaniels. I'd like to see Towns continue to be dominant and get maybe some more touches late in the game. Yeah. So I guess that's what I'm okay with. Some close. I love it if they went 5-1. That'd be great. It'd be very, very promising for the future of this franchise. So I hope you're right, Kevin. Just not too many wins because I don't want to lose that pick. Like I said, we'll see.
I've enjoyed the competitive games in the last week and a half, and I hope that continues. If we win the games because we're playing hard and we're developing our young players like McDaniels, like Nas, like McLaughlin, and Noel, then by all means trade that pick because we don't need a top 3 pick if we've got the talent we develop.
You can always have more talent. Garrett. You can always have more talent. Hank Tank.
I want to see him win, man. I'm sorry.
I would like it as well, but I want to see more consistent winning, which I think requires more talent than what's on the roster now.
And it requires health. It requires your star players playing together, and we haven't had that happen yet. So
perhaps we see Jalen Suggs back in Minnesota if they get a top 3 pick. We'll see. Number
that would
one,
be cool.
I mean, Cunningham in Oklahoma State, he's a long point guard, so that'd be fantastic. So there's just a lot of sexy players coming out. They could always be busts. I mean, they said this draft class was going to be bad, and we've gotten a pretty solid showing and deep showing out of this draft class. So we can save that conversation for another time, though. It's still the first half of the season.
I was just going to say that is a great conversation to have a week from now when we've officially decided if they're tanking or if they have a little bit more hope. Like Kevin says, if they go 5-1, let's not talk about the draft.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, thank you guys. This was fun. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy and go T-Wolves, right?
Thanks for having me, Garrett. Appreciate it.